Indonesia braces for potential largest Idul Fitri Mudik in history. Wow. And this year, Buleleng Tourism Department is launching Visit North Bali. This is the target. Okay, gonna give a little push for tourism in Buleleng today. And stay tuned for details. Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is March 18th, I think, 2024, and my name is Bruce. And what is the weather like today in Buleleng? The weather has been terrible for, the last 5, 6, 7 days. Raining, heavy winds. Wow, we had waves washing up against my wife's warung the other day. And right now it is 30.1 degrees Celsius and humidity 79%, wind speed 9.4 kilometers per hour. And it is not raining right now. It's very overcast, but we got some sun yesterday morning and a little bit in the afternoon, and then at night, whew, wow, huge rains again. So I don't know. How are things going where you are if you're in Bali? Is it raining down in Denpasar? My son went down yesterday, was here visiting, and he said it was raining in Gitgit and Badugal and not in Denpasar by the time he got there. And so, I don't know. What's the weather like where you are? Okay, so we've got Galungan is over, Kuningan is over, Nyepi is over, and I was going to talk about Nyepi, but this is a little late. Nyepi's already a week gone. There was the usual, so there were a few people violating stay-home customs. The most obvious one, or the one that got the most notoriety, was a famous film director, actress, and political activist. And she was out, and she was all over the internet on everything. And she said, I didn't know it was Nyepi. My staff told me that it was the 9th, not the 11th. And so I went out to go to the ATM. It's down in the Kuta area. Once she got out of her house or villa, whatever you want to call it, she should have realized that, wow, there's no cars here. There's no people. Something must be going on. But she got stopped anyway. Stop it, you two. Okay, I have kittens here, and they are by my feet bothering me, so they're going to interfere today. Say hello. Okay, so she was the most obvious one, and she was talked to and then told to go back to her villa, and she did, and she made a public apology. And then there were some tourists who got stuck and some local people as well out riding their motorcycles and people with their lights on. But overall, things seem to go pretty well, much better than last year, I think. So now we are in Ramadan, and we're going to be talking about Lebaran, Idul Fitri, and Mudik, right? Mudik is when there is a mass migration of people going home, and happens every year, and a lot of traffic in Bali, both leaving, people who work here but live in other islands, usually Java, and then people coming back from Bali who work somewhere else, Java, Lombok, Sumbawa, wherever. And so a lot of traveling is going on. Not the best time to travel, and that's, well, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Well, in fact, we'll talk about that right now. Indonesia braces for potential largest Idul Fitri Mudik in history. Nearly 3/4 of Indonesia's population are expected to hit the road on the annual tradition of Mudik, the Exodus, at Idul Fitri next month, potentially making it the largest homecoming journey observed in the country. Wow. About 193.6 million people are expected to be traveling home for Idul Fitri, according to a recently issued survey jointly conducted by the Transportation Ministry and Communications and Information Ministry and Statistics Indonesia, BPS. Talk about them a lot. The estimating figure would be a 56% rise compared to last year when there was 123.8 million people traveling. According to the survey, the rise of public interest in participating in the annual tradition this year is due to several factors, such as the prolonged holiday season, the low number of COVID cases, family economic situation, and weather conditions. Weather conditions suck all over the country, I think. This year's Idul Fitri is expected to fall somewhere between the 9th and the 11th, depending on the sighting of the moon. The majority of Mudik travelers are expected to leave for their hometowns about 1 week before holiday. In anticipation of the movement of travelers, the Transportation Ministry will roll out several policies, including some meant to encourage holidaymakers to take trips earlier to avoid peak travel days. And this happens every year, actually. Other moves will be aimed at preventing traffic congestion. Discounts for fares for departures as early as possible, free trips, discounts on road tolls, and traffic management will be aims that we have in order to ease all of the congestion. And this will be especially focused on the places of highest concentrations of travelers based on past experience. To further ease traffic, the ministry has issued a regulation banning freight transportation on toll roads across the archipelago during the peak of the travel season before and after Idul Fitri between April 5th and April 16th. Wow. The restrictions, however, will not apply to trucks carrying essential goods such as fuel, livestock, and food produce. Okay, now that makes a little more sense. A similar strategy was also implemented last year, with the ministry claiming to help lower peak traffic levels and curb accidents throughout the Mudik season. Some 3.9 million vehicles hit the road during the 2023 Mudik season, 6.1% higher than traffic volume in the previous year. Despite the increase, authorities managed to cut down the average traveling time by 14% and the accident rate by 22%. If you're not familiar with Mudik, a number of people die every year in traffic accidents. More public transportation. So, unlike last year's Mudik season, the joint survey revealed that most of the prospective travelers are planning to use public transportation to get to their hometowns. Around 40% of the respondents said they would travel by train or bus. Around 34% are planning to use private vehicles such as cars and motorcycles. And this is when you see that crazy motorcycle stuff with 4 people on there, 2 people and tons of baggage. Last year, 42% of Mudik travelers used private transportation and 30% took trains or buses. I don't know why they're not talking about trains. The trend shift indicates greater faith in the quality of intercity public transportation, according to transportation expert Pak Joko of the Indonesian Transportation Society. He called on the government to use this Mudik season as an opportunity for improvement. He said, improve the capacity of the country's public transportation and offer more free Mudik bus and boat trips so we can reduce the number of people traveling by motorcycle, which is not only dangerous, but contributes to heavy traffic. And, well, you'll see some pictures in the coming videos of Gilimanuk. Wow, with just thousands of people all lined up. More than 31 million people are expected to travel to their hometown by motorcycles, according to the survey. To discourage people from traveling by motorcycle, the ministry will provide more than 700 free buses to transport 30,000 Mudik travelers, along with trucks to carry their motorcycles. Wow. The Transportation Ministry will also provide 9,800 free ferry tickets and more than 28,000 free train tickets for travelers. Pak Joko advised authorities to set up more rest stops on toll roads and to refrain from using one-way traffic systems in order to mitigate congestion. He said last year, a lot of drivers had to wait 5 to 6 hours to pass a certain stretch of toll roads due to the one-way system. He said this leads to extreme fatigue and raises the risk of road accidents. So, wow. The government is trying to manage this mass migration, 193 million people. Okay, and so you may ask, as I'm thinking, if they're going to have 30,000 free tickets and you got 193 million people travel, what happens to the others? What's this, a lottery system? I don't know. No discussion here about how this is going to work for some of these freebies for Mudik travelers. But getting people off the motorcycles is a good idea because it is dangerous, especially if the weather continues to be like this in April. Okay, let's get on to the next one about Buleleng. Yeah, we're going to push Buleleng tourism in Buleleng. This year, Buleleng Tourism Department is launching Visit North Bali. This is the target. The Buleleng Regency Tourism Office, DISPAR, plans to launch the Visit North Bali application this year. If there are no obstacles, the Buleleng Tourism application will be launched on the 20th anniversary of Singaraja City on Saturday this month, the 30th. The head of the marketing department of the Buleleng Tourism Office said that this was intended to support and promote tourism in North Bali. The app is created to keep up with the dynamics of the time, which tend to shift to digital. So what can be accessed on the Visit North Bali application? Pak Widya said that through this application, tourists can access various tourism information about Buleleng. There will be tourism destinations, hotel information, tourist activity, vehicle rentals, creative economy products, hospitals, markets, and other things. The app is intended for tourists who want to come to Buleleng so they can easily find the latest information about what Buleleng has to offer. Apart from that, this application can provide evaluations for each tourist destination, so you can rate where you're going. Tourists can provide comments, and if you don't like it, you say so, and then I guess it would be fixed, right? They're going to do something about it. I don't know. So if you come here, you're going to have your say in what you think about tourism using this app. Will this app work? Who knows? We don't have a good track record with apps, at least at the start, so we'll have to see what happens. But I'm looking forward to seeing it, and that was going to roll out in a couple of months. During the time of the city's anniversary, the app will be released, and hopefully this will become the brand for Buleleng Regency, showing that it's keeping up with the time. And what are some places to visit when you come here? I know some people say, oh, there's nothing up in Buleleng. It's boring up there, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, we've got waterfalls. We've got Lovina Beach, Tamlian Lake, Banjar Hot Springs, Manjangan Island, Arsani, the pool at Arsani, and a number of really interesting temples. And, of course, we got the Buddhist monastery up on the hill out by Banjar. And, well, depending on how you feel about it, you can go and look at the dolphins, which I guess is what Lovina has become famous for. And this is just a good place to chill if you want to come and chill. If you're looking for hot and heavy beach clubs and things, this isn't really the place to go. But if you want to relax on a beach and just watch the day flow through, have a few beers or some drinks, and a lot of restaurants and bars in the area, very laid back, much different atmosphere than what you see down south. So you might want to come up and see what Buleleng has to offer and look for that app. And I'll be talking more about that when it is introduced. Okay, and what about tourists, right? You know, I've been watching social media, and it seems like more and more people are wanting to move here every day. It's like, oh, we're going to move to Bali next month, later this year, tomorrow, and they want information. A lot of people who are moving here who don't really have a lot of idea about what is going on here, what things are like. Oh, I've been to Bali 4 or 5 times. I love it, and I'm going to move there. A lot different than living here on a full-time basis. So, what's happening with tourism? Usually February, low season. March, still a low season. April, still a low season. In the past, things started to pick up in May, and then June, and then July, boom, a lot of people. But what's going on right now? January to February 2024 period, Bali's Ngurah Rai Airport serves more than 3.5 million passengers. Wow, in the low season. So the airport is recording an increase in passenger service this year so far for these first 2 months. So 3,555,108 domestic and international passengers. This number has increased by 21% over the same period of time last year. when there were 2,933,636 passengers. The general manager of the airport, Pak Handi, expressed his appreciation for increasing numbers of passengers at the airport. He said the increase in passenger services at the airport in 2024 indicates that the tourism sector in Bali will continue to increase. If you're interested in having more tourists here. If you're not, okay, not that good of news. According to Pak Handi, the increase in the number of passengers cannot be separated from the efforts and support of all stakeholders who always work together to advance the island of the gods. In February 2024, the airport served 1,751,427 passengers and 10,908 domestic and international aircraft movements. Domestic passengers, 749,037, and international passengers, 1,002,390. Throughout February 2024, the Jakarta route was the most popular domestic route with 382,290 passengers, followed by Surabaya and Makassar. Makes sense, the biggest cities. Meanwhile, the international routes with the highest passenger service in February: Singapore, 206,168, KL, Kuala Lumpur, 135,768, and Perth with 73,138. For the highest number of foreign arrivals in February, it's Aussies again, 96,262. Chinese, 56,476, second, followed by Indians, foreigners from India, 35,885. Pak Handi said, "We see that the number of passengers will increase in March considering Idul Fitri holiday, which falls this month." Apart from that, in the summer 2024 period, there's plans to add international flights from Bengaluru, Abu Dhabi, Beijing, Taipei, Xinjiang, and Jiangsu. Meanwhile, in the summer 2024 period, there are also operational plans for several airlines: Etihad, Indigo, and Starlux. Pak Handi said, "We're still coordinating the initial operational sequence for these routes, but we hope that they can be implemented as soon as possible." So, a lot of people coming in, and we're going to see more, as the lead story talked about, with all the travelers. I don't know, it didn't mention how many are coming by plane, but I imagine there are going to be quite a few. What was it last video or two videos ago? I was talking about Pak Sandiaga and Swiftonomics, and Pak Sandiaga said he was going to go to Singapore and figure out what they're doing that makes all that money and getting some collaboration. Well, of course, he did it. Why not go to Singapore? Nice place to visit. Sandiago Uno explores collaboration with Singapore for world-class events. So, our Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy met Singaporean officials to explore collaboration potentials in presenting world-class music, concerts, and other international events here in Indonesia. According to the statement received last week, the minister stated that he'd met with Singaporean Minister of Sustainability and the Environment and Minister in charge of Trade Relations. Pak Sandiaga remarked that collaboration on the matter is pursued since international concerts and events have shown huge economic benefits for Singapore. The Taylor Swift concert, for example, boosted the country's economy since the concertgoers spent more than 5 times as much money than ordinary tourists in Singapore. And ordinary tourists in Singapore spend a lot. Singapore is not cheap anymore like it was 30 years ago. The minister also revealed that the Indonesian government is preparing the Indonesian Tourism Fund to provide funding and incentives for tourism and creative economy actors in Indonesia. He said, "Our strategy is to provide a special incentive for promoters and event organizers who organize international level attractions." Pak Sandiaga continued that the incentive is not limited to music concerts, but will also be available for cultural and sporting events. Apart from the incentives, he said that his side, the Ministry of Tourism, will collaborate with other government ministries and agencies in supporting infrastructure development, permit digitalization, and development of human resources related to this matter. Also, efforts to eradicate ticket scalpers will be optimized to improve Indonesia's standing among the Southeast Asian countries to present international events. He said, "We believe with a one-stop permit system, promoters will not experience any difficulties and spend less money while applying for the permit. This mechanism will also cut the lengthy process and make it more transparent." He emphasized that in terms of quality, Indonesian musicians are at par with international musicians. Moreover, with a diverse number of music concerts taking place every year, he said local musicians will have several platforms to perform their music. And of course, depending on what groups you bring in, music groups, well, you could have demonstrations because there are segments of the population here who don't want certain bands or artists here who may be considered too racy, too sexy, too dirty, too political, whatever. So be interested to see how this all works out over the next 10 months, 9 months. Okay, that's it for today. Got a lot of other stuff I haven't talked about. Maybe I'll do a video in a couple of days and get that talked about or get that presented or whatever. So Zoe is coming home from school soon, and so I've got a lot of stuff I've got to get done here. And it hasn't rained so far today, and I want to dry out some stuff. So I hope if you are here, you're having a great time and staying as dry as possible. And if you're not here and you're planning on coming, well, I hope you have a good and safe trip. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.